For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby German?
From the end of the bridge to, you got to go through. Now, I believe that the bodies were found about 50.
Born from a family's grief and determination. In April of 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen went missing while stationed at one of the largest military installations.
That little music in the background that goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed it.
Chilling details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
They dropped the ball, man. Like they said, he went AWOL, and that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. The press release from the police department, it indicated that they're still trying to put pieces together from that night. Does that worry you at any point or at any bit that they're still trying to put those pieces together?
It's been over 5 weeks since little Kaylee Anthony vanished. Her mother, Casey, has been arrested for lying to police. She's being held without bail.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to The Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Drunk Turkey Show. I'm your host, Daniel J. Alongside with me, as always, is Big Blue on our morning/afternoon shows. Blue, first and foremost, I hope you had a happy Easter. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I did have a good Easter. It was a great time.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. We had a decent Easter. Our Easter was actually on Saturday. Sunday, we just did our morning stuff for church and whatnot. But for the most part, it was spent the rest of the day doing taxes. Unfortunately, had to get it done, man. Had to get it done. So we did our Easter on Saturday. What's up?
No, it was my dog barking out there.
Got you. We have about 49 people already in the live show. Just want to thank all you guys for joining in. We're going to be doing some more breaking news stuff early during the day type of thing. And to start off is some unfortunate news. Out of Louisville, we had an active shooter situation this morning that ended up taking the lives, as of right now, 5, and left 8 others wounded. So it's been the person has been identified that committed this crime as Connor Sturgeon. So let's read this article of who is Connor Sturgeon and go into this in a little bit more detail. The Louisville shooter who took the lives of 5 people and left 8 others wounded has reportedly been identified as Connor Sturgeon. According to reports in some news outlets, social media, Sturgeon is the person that is responsible and an employee at the Old National Bank, which is where the situation had occurred. Sturgeon is 25, was acting by himself, and his life was taken after police stormed the bank building. Sturgeon reportedly worked for the Old National Bank for 2 years, and prior to the incident, contacted a friend about thoughts of harming himself or oneself. The outlet reported, however, police haven't yet officially identified the actor. According to CNN, the lone gunman in the shooting did have a connection to the bank, where several people lives were taken and injured during the incident. The North Carolina Beat report reported that the suspect was still firing shots 3 minutes after police had arrived on scene of the incident. At that point, police and the shooter engaged with each other. So this is another image of this man. So authorities claim they are attempting to determine whether the shooter suffered a shot to himself or if he was wounded in the rounds exchanged with police. The incident took place on the first floor of the building, which is in front of the Louisville Slugger Stadium. This is the only few hours away from Nashville, where we had not too long ago the Audrey Hale shooting incident that occurred at a Christian school, which took the lives of 6, including 3 children and 3 teachers. Which begs the question, like, dude, this isn't the only one that's even happened today, or even in that same place. I was watching the news. Apparently, there was a second shooting that occurred in Louisville, separate from this account. Like, there is, like the title says, there's a problem here, and I don't know, man. What are your first thoughts and feelings, when you found out about this incident, Blue?
Well, I mean, when at first I was like, it's just another. When I first I heard it was at a bank, I was like, oh, a bank robbery gone wrong. And then I started reading into it that he's an employee, and then he's having mental issues, and like it's another person who went a little bit off the rails because they couldn't handle life. And then it's sad that they always try to take other people with them, and they should either try to get help or do something else.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Let's listen into the moment that this started to happen. Somebody had it captured on video. So I'm gonna see if we can find that that comment that police are updating right now, referencing this case. I'm gonna see if I can find that, and we'll go to that. But and I'm seeing. Oh, go ahead, Blue.
I said it's a AR-15 style rifle they're putting out there that he used, and he did shoot about 9 patients were received at the hospital, 2 police officers, and 7 civilians.
Damn, dude. That's insane, man. It just really is at the end of the day. And I know there's a lot of things that are thrown out there, persons and stuff. People do this, not the weapon or whatever. And I agree. People are the ones who are making the decisions to commit this type of crime. But it gets to a certain point where how many lives is too many?
Well, see, it all varies on the state, man. I like Florida's rule, the red flag rule. I think they should implement that in a lot of places to be able to help this from happening.
Oh, man, this is sad. I'm going to try to find this. One police officer had passed. He just graduated a week ago. Yeah, I'm going to try to find that out.
Yeah, like say if they had a red flag rule here, I'm not sure if they did, but once you start seeking psychiatric help and stuff like that, but put on certain medicines, and they know that you're a registered gun owner, they actually can take your gun away with the red flag rule. And supposedly it's helped a lot in Florida. It's helped I don't know any other states that have it, but it seems like Tennessee might be, yeah, right, Tennessee. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Might be another state that might need to pick that up because it's a few shootings in a couple of weeks spent. And the people
Now,
who
you
were
might be able to hear
Let's
here
hear
at
this.
Louisville Hospital at the emergency department. A helicopter is landing right now. We are here at the scene where law enforcement has been here. The bomb squad we saw just moments ago transporting people to the hospital. This helicopter is landing right now. We assume transporting people to the hospital. We know 5 people are dead. 6 people have been brought here. We'll continue to monitor the situation here at Louisville Hospital and bring you the latest. But for now, that is all we can confirm as people are getting out of this helicopter right now. I'm live at Louisville Hospital. Bobby McSwine, WHAS 11.
You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, so there was an officer that was involved. This is just extremely tragic. I'm guessing it's Rhode Island housewife says, legal or not, the people who commit the wrongdoings will find a way to get one. I'd be interested to know what percentage of the guns used in crimes are obtained legal or illegally. And, you know, me and Jaime have had this conversation before. And in this conversation, we looked up that information as far as where these guns are coming from and whatnot. And a lot of them are stolen. Let me see. Let's see. Right here, guns stolen in the USA. It says recklessness of gun owners are key fueling up legal gun trade from 2017 to 2021. No matter what, 4 years, over 1 million firearms were reported stolen. Yeah. Over 1 million. So, I mean, and that's in a 4-year span. So you're looking at about, just less than 300,000 guns a year are stolen. Now, we have another picture up. And it comes from Florida. It comes from the 3 teens that were whose lives were taken by 3 other juveniles. And the Florida sheriff here talks about those suspects, and the weapon that they had or used in that crime was from a stolen automobile.
Yeah.
Now,
that's the thing, man. Like, it's one thing about owning the gun, but also being responsible gun owner. People are going to break into your car, especially when, you have maybe something symbolizing you might have a gun in there, you know what I mean? Right. A sticker or something in the back, an NRA sticker. They see those stickers and they target those trucks because they know most people will hide a gun under the seat, under the back seat. It takes 10 seconds or less to go through a car real quick to see if there's any guns to take off with it.
Right, but that brings the question: should guns be left in the car to begin with? This should be secured and put up. Gun security is a huge thing. Now, if you're too damn lazy to put your gun up, then you shouldn't have one.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
Plain
and freaking simple. And if you're too damn lazy to get out of your damn ass to go get the gun out of the car and put it up, then your ass should be in jail for the crime that was committed with that gun, for allowing somebody to take your gun and go commit a crime with it because you're too damn lazy to get it out of your car.
Those gun safes are even that expensive. It might be like $150 for the gun safes for your cars, man.
I mean, even at that, dude, don't leave the damn gun in your car. I mean, you're getting out of the freaking car to begin with. When you get out of the car to go inside your house, take the damn thing with you. Do you know how many crimes would be solved if that was just the issue? So it doesn't even come down, in my opinion, to, whether or not the person who's operating the weapon, can or can't. It's about the people who get the guns aren't taking care of them the proper way. If you're not taking care of it the proper way, and 1 million freaking guns are on the street in a matter of 4 years,
Yeah.
Right. And Coffee Cake, I agree. We live in Texas, and that used to happen. But, technology, guns, a whole 9 yards has changed, right? You have high-powered velocity weapons, and it has nothing even to do with the type of gun you have. I mean, a semi-automatic weapon, handgun, can do just amount of damage, if not more, than a rifle, especially if you're put in a place where you're constricted of space. If you're put up against a wall, if you're put up and against a closet or some of those type of situations where you barricade yourself somewhere, it's a lot easier to do this than to have a rifle.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, and then there is cases of parents being tried for their kids shooting. I just saw a case the other day where I think it was a 14-year-old, right? I think the 14-year-old was having some mental issues,
Right.
and somehow I guess dad's idea was, oh, let's get him a gun, I guess to relieve his stress or something.
Right.
He ended up shooting 2 students, so they tried the mom and the dad this past probably a month ago.
Right. No, I understand. But I mean, when you look at laws, right? Like laws were created not because they wanted to punish people, right? They were created to make, you're supposed to be created to make people safe, right? You have rights to do whatever it is you want to do. It's a free country, right? Until whatever it is you're doing starts infringing on the rights of others. And so, and I'm all for less government and things of that nature. Trust me, I'm not for big government. I'm not for any of those things. I live in Texas for many reasons. Now, when it comes to this aspect of it, like you have a society that is used to having a one button quick fix switch, right? Today, if we want any information it's in the palm of our hands. You can look it up. If we want anything done, if you want to go buy a car, you can get a loan and you can have that car in your driveway by the middle of the afternoon. It is a quick fix solution, is what America, and this is not a quick fix solution issue. You know what I'm saying? There isn't going to be one. And so with that said, I do want to say, if you have a difference of an opinion, whether it's a difference between myself, Blue, Jaime, or other people inside the chat, let's just be respectful about
it. Let me tell you this, and sometimes it's actually cheaper for them to get a gun than it is for them to go get help.
Right. No, and I'm not disagreeing with that. You know, there's a lot of issues that are going on. Priorities are pretty jacked up in the United States, man. I mean, when you can go and get like a fucking free phone, but you can't get insulin for diabetes.
Yeah.
Come on now. That's when you know fucking priorities are jacked up. Priorities are jacked up. It's been that way for quite a while, you know, and at this point it's just coming down where these type of situations keep happening. We're becoming desensitized to it. And
I
don't know, man. Go ahead, Blue.
I just went to the pawn shop the other day and it was $180 for a decent little rifle, $250, $300 for a 9mm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, a doctor's visit, a specialist, is going to cost you around $300, and you got to pay every time you go. So that's how people don't get help, is because they can't afford it.
No, I agree, man. I mean, like I said, I agree, and I don't disagree with you on the mental health aspect of it, and I don't disagree with you on the aspect of anything that you're saying. But when it comes down to, all right, the ability to get a gun is now taking the life of innocent people. You know, whether you can't, because you can't control, like, how do you find out that somebody's going to have a mental break in 3 years to take their gun away from them now?
No,
you can't. You can't know that. And if you're going up against the what's right or wrong or whatever, and you're going to argue that, hey, you know, I want the right to have a gun, then you're also arguing for the rights of other people to have a gun.
Somebody put out there are free mental health programs. There are free mental health programs. Sometimes it goes by income, and sometimes it goes by wait list. I mean, I've seen people say they run out of their psych meds and they can't see a psychiatrist for a month or two for refills. You know what it does to people when they're off their medicines for at least a day or two? Imagine a month.
Right.
And not anybody can refill those psych meds. They need, triplicate prescriptions. Not every doctor is willing to put their license up for this person. So, yeah, it's a big, serious thing that there's not enough help out there for the people that need it. I mean, look at,
not to mention that when it comes to that situation, free mental health, the biggest, it's not really free. I mean, you go do a service for it, but the VA going and becoming a, joining the military service, if you get, disability or whatever coming out of the military, your medical expenses are covered, yet there's still a bunch of issues, right? There's not enough doctors in that situation. There's just too many people with a lot of problems. And like, this is getting kind of insane when it comes to the amount of crimes that are committed in this fashion. And so to me, like I said, when I mentioned it before, when your rights start to infringe on the rights of others, I mean, that goes down towards anything. I mean, LSD used to be medically used for certain things, and then people started taking advantage of it and started using it recreationally and illegally, and it became an illegal drug. Just like majority of things that are out there. At one point they weren't illegal, and yet somebody did something, and a group of people, or whatever the case may be, and whether it was steroids, steroids has their place, but then you had some people that took advantage of steroids and went over the board.
Yeah.
The same thing can be said, here, times change. We're not in old times anymore. Technology of weaponry has gone up. The high capacity rounds that are available, the weapons, high capacity weapons, the speed in which they disperse rounds. Like I said, I mean, it's not like, I get a lot of people saying, oh man, my grandpa used to have a gun out and we had guns out everywhere and nobody ever got hurt. Well, that's until somebody who has, maybe some mental health issues sees a gun laying around, and it's been that motivation of, oh, I can just leave it wherever. We're trained, or my father taught me, or I told my children not to play with them, yada, 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 but still just leave it around and then wonder why something happens when things happen. I don't know, man. It's heartbreaking.
It's a sad situation, man. It's a sad situation, but mental health is serious, and I think there needs to be more help out there. I mean, I know here in San Antonio, I know they added like 2 or 3 like mental health. I guess every time there's a call for mental health, they, instead of just sending police, they send like a mental health specialist, they call them, I think, where they're kind of like psychiatrists or something.
Right.
Because in that situation, you need somebody to be able to calm down the person before you arrest them or try to do anything, because it always ends up into a fight, and somebody always ends up getting hurt.
Yeah.
So it's supposedly it's helping out. So maybe, but here it's something different. There was a shootout. I mean, he shot 2 police officers when they walked in. But he had already started shooting. And it wasn't a call for help first. It was for mental health. It was a call for distress help, because he started shooting.
Right. Let me see. I'm gonna look that up. Wave 3 news. Let me look that up so I can get that going as well. See, like,
and it's like I was gonna say, because I saw that shooting in the school, right? I saw the video.
Right.
I mean, I know here in Texas, I thought those front door glasses are supposed to be bulletproof, but who's to say that they just don't walk up to one of the side windows and just blow it out and go into the window? They're all the height of. Sometimes you can. Most schools I've seen and gone to, they're only like waist high, and they're not all bulletproof glass. But
no. But I mean, just having a deterrent out there. I mean, you look at the Audrey Hale shooting, right? She, from what I understand, and I don't have all the information or have the information in front of me, but there was like a manifesto, and inside that manifesto there was other places that she had thought about committing this crime at, and she committed this crime at the place that she decided to because of the fact that there was lesser guns around. It was a gun-free zone, being a school or whatever, not having the security of a public school or whatnot. That does take into consideration of these folks. A lot of people say, well, the bad people are going to get the guns, but the bad people are getting guns from good people, or guns are turning bad, when they were initially purchased were good. The only way to stop the bad is stop the good sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I get the argument. People are going to end up finding a way, and this, that, and a third. And to me, I've never been a big preponderant of just anybody having a weapon. I've seen a lot of people get injured because they aren't trained. They don't know how. They had their father, grandfather teach them how to use the weapon. And it was, they grew up or whatever, and accidents happen because they weren't trained properly. I've seen even I've seen an instructor get shot above the neck by a 6-year-old who he was training, who had a recoil on the revolver, I believe. It may have been a Glock. I don't remember. But the recoil on the handgun caused the weapon to go up, and the little girl shot again. Yeah. And that second tap is what took out the instructor. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see. Notice how quickly that story was dropped by the media. Yeah, it was. I'm going to go live real quick to wave 3 so we can tune into what they're saying real fast.
Okay, it looks like we're getting a little bit closer. Yeah, you termed it right, Myra. This is a really big, small town where and when you hear about the names, when you finally find out about the people killed, it's gonna just set you back, and you're gonna have a hard time recovering from it. But it's like everybody knows somebody.
Everybody knows somebody. And they may have heard it today. They may have been close by to it. We cannot underestimate the trauma of
Josh Barrett, 40 years of age. At Old National Bank. Officers were on scene within 3 minutes. The suspect shot at officers. We then returned fire and stopped that threat. The suspect is deceased. This is the only time that I will mention the suspect name in this case. The suspect has been identified as Connor Sturgeon, white male, 23 years of age, who was employed at Old National Bank. His weapon of choice was a rifle. We have 5 total deceased, which includes him. But I want to acknowledge with heartfelt condolences, prayers to the family of those who lost their life today. Tommy Elliott, 63 years of age. Jim Tutt, 64 years of age. Josh Barrett, 40 years of age. And Juliana Farmer, 57. We have a total of 9 victims who were treated and are being treated at University of Louisville Hospital. 3, which are in critical condition, including our officer. 3 who are listed in non-critical condition, and 3 who have been treated and released. The 2 officers who were struck in exchange of gunfire, one of the officers, he was grazed to the left side, and the other officer suffered minor injuries to the elbow. I just want to let everyone know that the officer who is in critical condition today, Officer Nicholas Wilt, 26 years of age, just graduated from the police academy on March 31st. I just swore him in, and his family was there to his journey to become a officer. Struck in the head, engaged in this incident. Nick has come out of brain surgery and is in critical but stable condition as we speak. I've been down there with the family and given my love and support. Been with all of the families today to show our love and support for them. And if anything else that they need from LMPD, we will provide that. The next few days are important and very critical for Nicholas's recovery. This will be a long, complex investigation involving local, state, and our federal partners. I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge our federal partners who have been outstanding, our local partners, ATF, FBI, I thank you. Our local partners, University of Louisville Police, EMS, Emergency Management Services, thank you. Thank you for everything. And for my LMPD officers who took it upon themselves to not wait to assess everything, but just went in to stop the threat so that more lives would not be lost. Thank you. Thank you for showing up, even when sometimes you are just felt like you're not appreciated. But I asked my officers when I addressed them today, if we don't do it, who will? And so they're very committed, and their resiliency showed today, and their professionalism showed today. I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the mayor, who has been with us every step of the way through this trying and critical time. But I want to encourage the public, if you have any additional information, please call 574-LMPD and assist us. This should not continue to happen. Evil should not try to prevail and take over our city, and we let it happen. So I'm encouraging everybody that we unite and that we continue to do the good work, and LMPD will continue to keep this community and this city safe.
Thank you very much, Chief. Today is a day that's heartbreaking for our city, for all of us, and especially for the people who are in that office at Old National Bank and their loved ones. We just heard the chief give the names of the people who lost their lives in this mass shooting this morning. One of them was Tommy Elliott, a very good friend of mine, of the governor's. To Tommy's family, to the families of Jim Tutt, Josh Barrick, Juliana Farmer, Rachel and I join you and families across our entire city and beyond in grieving this shocking and painful loss of your lives. The chief, the governor, myself, we visited in the hospital this morning with several of their families to offer them our support and our love during this unthinkable day. We will continue to offer our support and love and anything else we can provide to help them. We were also there, along with several of my colleagues from Metro Council, to thank and support the officers of LMPD for their heroic work today and every day, and say thank you to the new graduating class who was there to support their colleague, Officer Will, as he continues to fight for his life. Let's be clear about what this was. This was an evil act of targeted violence. And to add to that tragedy, a few blocks away, shortly after this happened, another man lost his life and a woman was shot in a completely different act of targeted violence. The two incidents appear to be entirely unrelated, but they both took lives. They both leave people scarred, grieving, and angry. I share all of those feelings myself right now. This is really difficult for all of us across the entire city to process and accept. I ask that we respect the needs of the families and loved ones of the people whose lives were lost today, and the people whose lives will never be the same. I'm a survivor of a workplace shooting. To the people who survived, whether you were physically hurt or not, I know that you're hurting too. We are here for you as well. To the survivors and the families, our entire city is here to wrap our arms around you. We've set up a family assistance center through the Red Cross to provide support and services to those families today and in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead that we know will be challenging. To provide you with whatever you need to deal with the trauma of this moment. The same applies to our police officers and first responders. Our city is here for everyone impacted. We are a strong city, and we will be here for support. As the chief mentioned, our LMPD officers went into that building knowing that they were risking their lives to save other lives. And that's exactly what they did. They exchanged gunfire with the shooter. To Officer Wilt and his family, we will continue to pray and support you. To the other 2 LMPD officers who were injured, thank you and all of your colleagues for your service today and every day. I also want to thank all of our other first responders, fire, EMS, Jefferson County Sheriff, state and federal agencies that are helping us at this time. And to Dr. Smith, to you and all of the other doctors and nurses and team at U of L Health for your work today and every day, you too are saving lives in our city, and we thank you. For the rest of us in our city, let's hold each other close and provide comfort where we can. That's what we've done in the past, and that's what we must continue to do now. We've already received offers of assistance from people across this city and country. Thank you. By the end of the day, we'll be providing specific information on how to provide donations to those impacted today if you would like. We will also have more information by the end of the day about a community-wide vigil for the targeted acts of violence.
Again, super just sad and disappointing. I'm reading some of the comments through here, and it seems like everybody's just, everybody has their own opinion on it. It goes back and forth. What do you think about this one, Blue? The second is about keeping government in check. Totalitarian governments kill more than mass shooters. Hollywood video games and music should not be allowed in these images. Should be like porn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because we're as a society in the U.S., we get censored a lot already, but we get censored with certain things that we should know about, and then our kids get to see whatever is allowed, and some of that stuff's not good either. So I think it should all be, equal parts. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. But you have games that are out there nowadays that are first person, shooter or whatnot, and you have material that is way more violent than it was back in the day.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so do you think that material has a role in mental health?
It can, yes, a lot can, because there's, some people get obsessed with that material. I mean, I look at I would hate to put it out there, but TikTok. There's guys on there playing, Call of Duty, Fortnite for hours on end. That's all I think of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, which gun am I going to upgrade to? Which armor? Which, And then sometimes they start buying the stuff in real life.
No, you're right. And, there's one thing about those games is that people don't realize is that there are some realistic strategic moves in those games where you get a team, you go into a building, and you can almost train yourself to an extent on how to clear out a building or, do some crazy things. When I was in law enforcement, there was a corporal that was on our shift who told me that earlier on in his career that he had gone to the arcade, and he had seen guys playing. I think it was a game called Time Crisis, where you had a gun and you had a little foot pedal, and the thing would hide you, and you would go and you would clear. And he's watching it. And this is when I was going through the cam, and he was like, "Man, this thing, it shows you entering a building, hiding behind objects, when to get up, when to get down, things like that. I mean, it's legit training when you think about it." And so you have the situation like this. You have a situation like, for instance, the Uvalde shooting that happened next door to us.
Yeah.
And, you had somebody who barricaded himself in and was able to do tremendously more damage than what these guys were. And to a certain extent, the police were probably at some sort of fault as far as how long it took for them to neutralize the suspect and the whole 9 yards. And so I get that aspect of it as well. But, I would be remiss to say that I wouldn't be surprised if this guy didn't have some sort of online training. Now, when you look at, like, for instance, they brought up the term porn, there is addiction to that. And just like I'm fairly positive there's an addiction to video games and things of that nature. And so, especially if you're occupying your brain and your mind with that type of material for X amount of time, it's only bound to happen. And in today's society, that video game, that TV turns into the babysitter more often than not.
It does.
You know what I'm saying? And so you have children from a very young age playing video games that they shouldn't, watching television programs that they shouldn't. And then you go give them a phone, right? You give your child a phone, 11, 10, 8, 9, 13 years old, and they have access to this type of material on that phone, whether it's games or violent things you can watch on YouTube or wherever the case may be. And so it's not just the gun situation in my opinion. It's not just their problem.
It's crazy because, even now I remember seeing this video the other day about, it was I want to say it was like a third grade, second grade classroom. And the teacher's like, I don't want to be doing this, but I have to do this because of the way society is now. And he brought a bucket out on the table and he dumped it over, and he's this, I think he called it, "This is going to be our poop bucket." And he was explaining to the kids on if there is a shooting in the school, how they're going to lock the doors, and if somebody's got to go to the restroom, they had enough food there for every student, and MREs kind of deal. And then they had a bucket, with a toilet seat on it where they had to go to the restroom. They put it behind a little curtain thing and they had to go to the restroom there. So they're getting trained at a young age that this is a society we live in. I mean,
you're absolutely right.
Even like at my work, I mean, I have to go every year and do trainings. And, I just did the training for, I did the active shooter training.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an online training, and it tells us where we have to go, or which corridor is the safest for us. And then also we had to do like human trafficking, human smuggling training. So I mean, it's just so much stuff out there that we have to get trained on. That on a lot of the jobs that I've had before, forget it, never had any of those kind of trainings before.
No, I know.
Because where I work, I get all these extra trainings I have to take just to be able to understand what might happen in my life.
No, you're for real. Regina says, okay, let's say guns become illegal. What happens? So, like I said before, there's no one click, one switch fix, one quick flip or a switch that's going to fix everything. To me, this is just me thinking out loud. Certain guns probably shouldn't be legal. Semi-automatic weapons, whether they're handguns or not, shouldn't be legal. Not to civilians, at least. Police departments, law enforcement, military. That's a different situation because those guys are sometimes put into some situations, and guys and gals, put into situations where they need that type of equipment. Right now, the everyday person, I don't think so. Now, I'm not necessarily saying make them illegal. My I guess solution would be to stop the manufacture and the selling of them. And so what ends up happening is if you stop the manufacture and the selling of weapons to the public, not necessarily make them illegal, that increases the value of those weapons. And, you do a buyback and you're going to get some bad guns off the streets, especially if they're becoming more valuable. If you have a weapon that you can't buy somewhere else, the value is going to increase. And so a lot of these gangbangers and whatnot may end up selling their weapon to somebody else or whatever. Anyways, the long story short is you end up getting a lot of these thousands and hundreds of thousands of guns that are stolen every single year. Well, those guns end up eventually getting off the street. And like I said, it's not a quick fix thing. It's not like, hey, it's going to be, there's a button you press and then tomorrow everything's okay. There's no solution like that. But in my opinion, if you just stop the manufacturing, make them still legal, restrict the crap out of them, then the value of those things become more expensive, too expensive for common crooks to carry them. The juveniles would have a lot more difficult time getting a hold of them, especially if they were that expensive too.
I think for that one, today it wouldn't make a difference, but for some of the shootings that have happened in the past, I think they should make it like 21 and up to be able to at least get those type of weapons. But the hard thing is he was over the age of 21, so right. This is a more mental health issue with him. But I gotta go, guys. I gotta get my daughter from school. Y'all take care.
Sounds good, Blue. We'll see you guys. We'll see you tonight. We have another show tonight, guys, at 7:35. We're going to be talking about the missing persons and Dwayne Haskins. But we'll see you later, Blue.
What I do is I work in an urgent care, and I'm also an X-ray NCT technician. Let's put it that way. So I do X-rays also.
Nice.
Yeah. Have a good day.
And so Hyman G goes, if you make guns illegal, then only the criminals will have them. I get that sentiment and I get that understanding, but let's look up the old Google. That's typically where interweb doesn't tell you everything that's real, right? It's not 100%, but what countries don't have gun rights? Because I honestly don't know. All right. And then we'll look up to see how bad how bad their laws are when it comes to like, is their criminal activity higher or lower than in countries that have, gun rights? Gun control is a topic of great debate. Let's see. Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. Okay, let's see. I just want to know what the numbers are. I really don't care about all the other stuff that's in here because it's going to be used to try to persuade somebody one way or not. All right, list of countries is illegal. All right, so we have the Vatican City, Timor-Leste, Somalia, Solomon Islands, North Korea, Marshall Islands, a lot of Fiji. Okay. And these are, we're not hearing a bunch of gun-related issues in these countries that have where gun ownership is illegal. And so, I get what you're saying. And the problem, I guess, here and there is that, here there's already so many guns, right? There are already so many here. Let's see. Don't forget, y'all, there was a 6-year-old who shot her teacher not too long ago, too. It's real, man. It's real. Let's see. Regina says, as a teacher, I had a 3/4-year-old student who would say, when I'm 18, I'm going to Walmart and buy a gun. And yep. And a lot of that has to do with what they're watching, who their role models are, including their parents, what their parents allow and do, and what they say is cool. And it's bad. Let's see. I'll go through some of these, but you know what? Let's listen into some of these victims here. Some of the witnesses.
I was coming into work, getting on the elevator. I hear what I thought was gunfire. I was on the phone. I just walked out of the elevator and into the garage, and then I heard multiple shots again, and I just ran outside, and then there were two police officers here on Preston. They said, run for cover. So I just ran.
Exactly which building were you in?
The Preston Point building right here. So it was on the first floor, it sounded like.
What time was this?
8:42.
Very precise.
Yeah, I was on the phone so I could see the clock.
Got you.
And so, just a little something from somebody who was there. Let's see. I got an email in. Let me pull it up over here. So this is the guy. And here are his parents. Just normal looking people, y'all. Normal looking people. Yeah. You never expect something like this to happen. It's so sad. It shouldn't happen. Not anymore. You know, like this has become to a point where there's got to be an answer somewhere. Let's see. Now, let's go back to this. According to the sheriff there in Florida, these gang of teens stole ammunition and a gun from a vehicle, had pictures of them with the weapon, and then at one point, Camille Quarles goes into the trunk on her own to go smoke probably marijuana. That's what it sounds like. And while she's in there smoking, two males describe that one guy opened fire on the two, the driver and the passenger up front. And this is when the vehicle came to the dumpster and they dropped the body out there, which ended up being, was it Layla Silvernail? So, in the affidavit, investigators described the suspect's activities with the victims on the night of March 30th, which included a trap house, smoking, car hopping, and committing burglaries. Detectives found photos of confiscated phones showing one of the victims pictured with suspects displaying firearms and ammunition. Police said Friday the victims had known the suspect for a short time. Marion County Sheriff Billy Wood said that the suspects eventually turned on the victims for undisclosed reason, resulting in the alleged triple homicide. And so, I remember when this thing came out, and I told I told you guys, I was reading it, and I was like, for one, it sounded like Camille was found in the trunk based on the fact that they needed a warrant to search it. You know, you wouldn't need one if you saw the body in the front seat. And so it started off there, and sure enough, I mean, it comes to find out that all three victims more than likely had their lives taken at the same time. It's crazy. Let's see. So they also tried to sell that gun. So a few hours before the incident, one of the victims appeared to have been involved in a robbery with a 12-year-old and a 17-year-old shooting suspects, according to the affidavit. An unidentified male told police he agreed over Snapchat to buy a gun through a friend of one of the victims around 6:30 on March 30th. That male said he got into the back seat of Silvernail's white sedan where there were two black males he does not know. Police say they determined that those black males were likely the 12-year-old and the 17-year-old suspects. The male witness took out $240 in presumably in exchange for the firearm. One of the black males in the back seat struck him in the cheek with the barrel of the gun and demanded the money. The witness fled the car and told police the suspect fired shots at him. So, you know, for $240, they were willing to take this dude's life. A bunch of kids, man, 12 years old, 17, 16. At some point later that evening, the three shooting victims were in Silvernail's car with the 12-year-old and the 17-year-old. Both of the shooting suspects told police that group picked up the 16-year-old whom the 12-year-old said he did not know and who was wearing a ski mask the entire time. According to the affidavit, Silvernail was driving the male victim in the front passenger seat and Quarles was in the trunk smoking by her own choice. The group planned to rob someone for marijuana and was traveling through Ocala, according to the 17-year-old's account. The 12-year-old, known by the nickname 35, told police teens were driving towards Ocklawaha when the 16-year-old pulled out a handgun and shot the two victims who were in the front seat. And so the 12 and the 17-year-old, and this is pretty common, especially when two people get busted before a third or a fourth or whatever, and there's still somebody on the loose, they'll usually turn on the one person that's not there to give their statement. So according to them, the one guy that's still on the loose is the one who shot both of those victims. Silvernail's car then struck a garbage dumpster in the area of Southeast 183rd Avenue Road, Silver Springs. The owner of the dumpster called police at 10:48, which saw Silvernail bleeding. A woman whose lives in the area told police she heard 4 or 5 loud pops that sounded like gunshots and looked out her window and saw the sedan hit the dumpster, according to the affidavit. The 12-year-old told police he then shot the female victim, though it was not clear whether he was referring to Silvernail or Quarles. He said the 17-year-old forced him to shoot Quarles or his family would be killed, according to the affidavit. The 12-year-old told police he did not think one of the victims was passed after he shot her. Because she was still alive, she was going to snitch on us all. We was all going to jail for life. And that's the reason why the 17-year-old suspect shot one of the victims. The 16-year-old, known as Reaper, then drove Silvernail's car and stopped to dump the male victim in a ditch. The 12-year-old told police the 3 suspects then drove the car to a pond where it was later found partially submerged. After the shooting, Silvernail was transported to a nearby hospital where she was later pronounced gone. The authorities have found voluminous amounts of the victim's blood inside of the vehicle and on one of the victim's phones. My assumption is probably the person in the trunk who had majority of the blood on their phone. The 2 juveniles have been arrested and facing first-degree murder and robbery charges. And so it's a crazy time that we live in. Crazy time that we live in. So I'm going to go through some of these comments real quick. I know this is a touchy subject, y'all. I know that. And I just want to let you guys know I appreciate everybody being cordial in the comment section and live section, being respectful. So as of right now, the poll has 160 votes. 59% of y'all say that guns should guns be legal in the USA. 59% say yes, they should be. Only 15 say no. And then 26 of y'all say it's not the guns. And so I'm going to probably put the 26 and the 15 together there. I mean, the 25, not the gun, and yes, they should be legal together. So that's like 76% of you guys in the live chat right now think that guns should be legal and they're not the problem. Only 15% of you guys think that it is. The guns should be illegal. So, and I'm sorry for what you're going through, Crazy Daisy. It's my prayers and thoughts are not, are out with you and the family and the victims and everybody that's been involved in, and it's not just those that were involved. You had a lot of people that were outside watching the situation go down. Their lives will be forever changed as well, having witnessed something like this. There are numerous factors to this. That's true. That is true. There are so many factors to this. My thing is, it's become a pattern with so many young lives being taken, whether it's young adults or students or whatever the case may be. People who can't defend themselves. Nobody in that bank, none of those people that guy worked with outside of the security guard and armed guards had a weapon or were prepared to, defend their lives in this manner. Those children in Tennessee didn't. None of these kids did. You know what I'm saying? Your gun should be on your person or locked in a gun safe. No, I agree 100%. 100%. I think that if we had laws that were stricter on people who were unresponsible with their weapon, which led to that weapon getting stolen, should be punished. Now, circumstance dictates the issue, right? Now, if somebody gets carjacked and pull a gun on you and they steal your weapon because of a robbery, that's a different story. If you're, in a rush to go home and, get out of your car because you've had a long day or whatever the case may be, and you left your weapon in your vehicle overnight, no, that should be a criminal offense, and you should be locked up. Plain and simple. I know accidents and things happen, but those type of things are what lead to situations that end up occurring here. Now, I know in this situation here, with the one in Kentucky in Louisville, that it was this guy purchased a weapon on his own or whatever, right? I know the one in Florida was a stolen situation, but I would like to say that majority of these weapons that are used in crimes like this aren't. Well, I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they are grabbed legally. Let's see. Let's go through some of these comments. DJ goes, if you notice, most of these mass incidents happen in Democratic run areas and in gun-free zones where people are sitting ducks with no way to protect themselves. Criminals will always get the guns. I don't disagree with you. I do know that more than likely these people that are committing these crimes are cowards and thus are going to go and attempt to take advantage of places that aren't protected. So I don't disagree with you on that aspect. Parents both need to have good parents. A lot of times kids are minus the father, although my kids have their dad, he wanted nothing to do. So, Darlene, I agree. I think that one of the main issues is there's a lot of main issues here. You have parents that have to work, right? Back in the day, and a lot of people talk about, oh man, we used to be able to do this, we used to be able to do that, and this, that, and a third. But how many of those folks that had a parent that stayed home? Had both of their parents, one went to work, one stayed home. Because, not to get all like economics and political or anything like that, but when you have a society, like for instance, where the cost of living has gone up and the cost of living everywhere has gone up and the wages have stayed the same, that kind of makes both parents work, and it puts the child in a position of a disadvantage, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that, the man has to go to work or the woman has to go to work. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, I think one person or that child needs one parent there when, to teach them, to help them grow, to talk to them on a daily basis. You have a situation where, both parents working, and you have commuting times because living in the city is kind of hard sometimes, and things like that. And then you end up having a parent or both parents being out of a child's life and letting that child basically raise themselves, whether it's off the TV, off the YouTube, off the video games, off of whatever. That's where the babysitter has come into play. And off the cell phone is probably the biggest one. And so when you have a society that is getting away from raising children, because I honestly think that's what it is. We have a society that's getting away from raising their own. It's gone to a situation where others raise their children, whether it's, like I mentioned, all the things before, or the school or daycare or whatever. And whoever's raising them obviously doesn't have the interest in that child as would a parent would, right? So I would assume that my father and my mother would have a much more higher vetted interest in myself and in my success than my teacher would have when I was in second grade. Now, I'm sure my teacher would have wanted me to pass the second grade, but outside of me passing the second grade and making sure that, the school gets paid for that student being there and passing, she probably hasn't thought twice about me since second grade. So with that being said, I think priorities are in the wrong place, right? I think that's what I'm trying to say. Let's see. AZ goes, if my gun is in my house, that should be sufficient. I consider my house a giant safe. Well, if you're the only person that lives in your house, that's great. If you have children that have access to it, then it's not really a safe, is it? Because if you had, would you trust children with, if you had all of your amount or all your bank account available in your house, would you allow anybody to just walk in there without you looking or putting it up into a safe? I doubt it. I'm sure if you had money, like, all of your life savings, you'd want it put in a safe, whether that's at the bank or somewhere else, to keep people, including family members, out of grabbing it, right? And so, like I said, I understand that, and I understand that concept to a certain extent, especially out in like the country or whatnot. But when you go into like the city and stuff, and it's just a difference of places and this is just a lot different. It's not the same. And if you try to fit that round peg of city life into the square hole of country living, it's not gonna work. Right. Let's see. My ex said he was a man and men are not to hold their male children. So my kids, yeah, that's true. I'm not gonna lie, that's true. There are some out here where I'm from that's called machismo. There are some men who it's not right. And what I mean by that's true, what I'm saying is there are men out there who don't want to hold their male children. It's called machismo. It's not right. Joe goes, minor children, if home alone, that is breaking the law too. I agree. Thank you, Nate. I appreciate that. Yeah, just letting kids do whatever they want and no structure is bad. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I agree to this too. I know everybody here may not be religious or not, but I do agree with that. Like I said, I know not everybody believes in that, but religion was a form of like keeping you in line, right? Especially back in the day. Religion was more powerful. People were more fearful of religion. And so perhaps there's why, as we've gotten away from that, maybe perhaps that's why it's possible that's why there's an issue, but it's also possible of overpopulation, where you have just too many people of too many different backgrounds. And I'm not talking about race or anything like that. I'm talking about like you have country folk moving into the city folk moving into the country to get away from the city. And you have people moving from one state to another to avoid taxes or to get into a better situation. And you just have all these difference of opinions and difference of all these things coming together and clashing. And I know we're supposed to be the United States, but there's reasons why there's 50 different states, because something that might work in California may not work in Texas or in Oklahoma or New York or wherever the case may be. And so let's continue. His dad was a retired basketball coach, and this is referencing to the shooter in Louisville. Alice says, no discipline or accountability, no chores or responsibilities, making a new generation of absolutely nothing. Exactly. And not to mention the technology that's coming with it. You have kids who are ready, available to have information, anything at the touch of their finger. They want food, DoorDash, boom, it's right there, right? You don't even have to cook anymore. And so these individuals or the society or group of people are accustomed to a certain thing, and when they don't get it, we've seen tantrums and things that have been thrown out and drawn out, and we've seen the result of, like, there's a saying out there, right, that hard times Now I know this is an old saying, and it might not be politically correct, but hard times make, and I'll change it. Hard times make good people. Good people make good times. Good times make like hard times, right? Or good people make hard times or whatnot. It's just a cycle, right? And it goes back into the way we work or whatnot. We just forget it. Just forget it. I don't know how I was trying to say that. Let's just see. Walt Lickert, religion is a form of control. The worst atrocities in history were over it. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you on that aspect as far as, a lot of the worst atrocities in histories were over religion. However, in my opinion, there was a lot less destruction amongst the masses in between there. You had different groups of people who were, or different religions attacking different places. Back in, and again, I'm not a historian. I don't know, but to me, I understand what you're saying there, Walt. But there was also the aspect of accountability and, knowing that somebody's watching you. This did help out that situation for making some better choices. Let's see. Karen D comes with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you for having this important conversation. You're welcome. You're welcome. I thought it needed to be out there. I know that, like I said, not everybody's going to agree with my view or Jaime's view or Big Blue's view, or because, me, Blue, and Jaime have had this conversation. All three of us don't have the same view on this topic. And we've been able to have this conversation without, demeaning anyone or belittling anyone. I understand where, like, for instance, Jaime is 100% for the Second Amendment and all those rights. And I'm not against it. I'm just, to the point where at a certain time, there's just, there's rules and things that need to be changed. There was, where I live in Texas, it used to be legal where you pulled up to an intersection, you had to shoot a gun up in the air to indicate something. Those rules aren't legal anymore because society, people, technology, all those things have changed, right? And so, to me, the law needs to also change with how we as a society is moving forward. It wasn't too long ago where you could legally marry your cousin, right? Now, we have found out that through genetics and things of that nature, that's probably not the best thing to do, right? Edgar Allan Poe was a guy who married his cousin. And so as we find out information and as we become more civilized as a civilization or as a species, certain things need to be dropped off the end there, right? At a certain time, only men had rights, only married men had rights, and that's not the case anymore. Or could have the right to vote or things like that. As society has civilized and has changed, so have the rules and the laws. And I think that maybe perhaps this one needs to be one as well. So I'm going to answer a couple more questions and then I'm going to cut it off. I will be back with the guys later on tonight. We're going to be talking about Dwayne Haskins, former Steelers quarterback, who was killed last year in he was run over in a Florida highway. Apparently, there was family is suing and claiming that there was that he may have been drugged. So we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about the missing mother of two, the Madeline Kingsbury. We're going to be going into more in depth about that missing person. Let's see. My dad and I are totally different, but in the end, we're exactly the same. I'm sure a lot of people are that way. Me and my dad are kind of the same way too. Let's see. Drag queen story time. Are you making fun of the time where I accidentally recorded RuPaul's drag racing because I thought it was or drag strip because I thought it was a drag racing show in my early 20s? Yeah, that was there. That happened. It took me I was like, I remember when I was watching it back, I was like, man, where are the cars, man? What's going on? That was funny. Let's see. Casey goes, my friend makes his little boy hold a wooden spoon when he takes him shopping with him. It works. Let's see. While goes, drag queens can read to kids. They are people like everyone else. The real villains are the conservatives in Tennessee trying to lower consent. Yeah, I don't think lowering consent is a good deal either. You know, it just seems like there's just a lot of exploitation of children, whether it's the consenting age, lowering that age, and trying to interfere with that developing mind at that age, or implementing violent images, whether it's off of video games or movies or whatever the case may be. You know, just yesterday I was watching a movie where it was on Netflix. It was called Chupa, which means like suck it or something like that. But it was about the chupacabra, and it was about a long story short, it takes place in Mexico, and they found a little chupacabra puppy thing or whatever, right? And in this movie, the little girl and little boy, probably under the age of maybe the little girl's 13, or at least in this movie is represented as a 13-year-old. Little boy's a little bit younger, and they're firing fireworks out of their hand. And you know, the little boy says, I don't want to get my hand blown off. And the little girl goes, we got to live once. Just do it. It's fun. And she talks him into it, and then shows the audience them lighting fireworks in their hands, and it's going up. It's a bottle rocket going up and popping or whatever. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what message are you sending out there? Like, how many kids are going to lose their freaking fingers now because they've seen this and think that this is what you're supposed to do? Kids are stupid. That's why they go to school for so long. I mean, I was one of them. I was stupid too. They'll see something and they'll think that they can do it, or that's the way it's supposed to be done. And that's not the right thing. Not the right thing. There it is. Crossroads said it right. Hard times make strong people make easy times make weak people, and weak people make hard times. Thank you, Crossroads Accounting and Tax, for helping me out with that. I knew it went something, but I just couldn't remember the exact way. Let's see. Mandy Joe comes in saying, Mama 6-year-old who shot teachers now face. She should, because not just in that situation. From what I understand, that little boy has had some issues. They've been reporting on him, and even that day that the school was notified that he possibly had a weapon on him, right? And yet they continue to just let it go, and then something serious happens, and I don't know. Those parents probably should have been investigated a long time earlier. Let's see. We'll see if there's any more. If someone that practices religion gets to the final line and there really is no God, at least they live their best life possible. I'd rather have the key to Van Door than not, just in case. Makes sense. I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, she goes, FYI, a gun would have helped Paul Pelosi with that hammer attack. Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, there's a lot of situations that we can come into and talk about when it comes to, like, you know, that scenario, a gun would have been benefit, that scenario wouldn't have. Well, we can go back and forth all day. But what matters, or what it boils down to, is at what cost is having a gun nowadays being afforded to the American people, especially the children, who are victims of so many different crimes, you know, shootings in schools. Now, this one that's in Kentucky was an older guy, and I don't know the scenario behind it. He sounds like he had some mental health problems, and And it sounds like perhaps he had some problems at work. I mean, that's the only thing I can assume. But with that being said, who's paying the price for these things? It's the families of the victims. Let's see. Hard liquor makes strong drinks. AZ, that's funny. Let's see. Nomad, I was born and raised near San Francisco, but live in Texas now. When I grew up, no one talked about anything. Everyone just accepted people for who they were. So much hatred now. Social media, maybe. I mean, that's the other thing too. Like we've talked about that, earlier, where it's so many groups of people and all this other stuff that I was mentioning. Well, you also have the ability to communicate with people now that you didn't before. Like for instance, when I was growing up in school, I didn't know anybody in California, Washington, Idaho, Maine. You know what I mean? I wasn't connected to anybody like that. I was in my own circle, my own group of people. Social media was just starting. And then as social media began to build, and, I found myself all over the country and talking to people and things like that, right? And so now you get ideas and thoughts from all over the place, but you also get arguments that comes with that because people are from different areas, different cultural backgrounds, and it ends up becoming an argument. Let's see. What does Jaime say? At what cost is taking guns from law-abiding citizens and leaving them to the criminal? I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's assuming that we're going to go pick up, the government's going to go pick up everybody's gun that moment and things like that. I don't think that's the case, and I don't think that should happen. I just think that they should probably make it much more difficult to get one and to keep one, maybe, perhaps, because mental illness can come out of nowhere. I mean, how many times do you have to go back, to the DMV to redo your driver's license and do your eyes and make sure you can see and all those other things, right? What the hell does that happen with a gun? Doesn't. People think of it as a birthright. Oh man, I live in this country. I was born here. I should have the right to do this and that. And it's more of a privilege because not everybody has the rights to own one, right? There are certain people that don't have that right. People that have committed offenses, violent offenses in the past, things like that. And so I get what you're saying. But this is also not the Wild West where we just have people like, riding a horse into town, going and robbing the banks because nobody else has a gun or anything like that. There's still going to be law enforcement officials. There's still going to be military and all those other, deterrents that are out there now. Because honestly, when you look at all these crimes that are committed, I don't think people are really caring if somebody has a gun in their house or not. I mean, look at the Idaho 4 situation. Brian Koberger in Idaho, where this is a small mountain town. I would assume that there's probably some hunting going around in that town and that there could be some weapons. And yet this guy entered a building with 5 cars outside, only armed with what we suppose is just a knife. Bad things will happen regardless. If one of those individuals had a weapon, described, a gun, would that have made a difference? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I mean, they were supposedly asleep during the crime, or in bed. Let's see. Like I said, I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to get into that conversation of like, oh man, you shouldn't have a gun, or this person shouldn't have a gun, or whatever. But it comes to a certain extent where we're seeing our country having so many of these type of incidences happen. And I'm not really seeing that around the world. I'm not seeing London being attacked like this as often as America is. I'm not seeing Britain. I'm not seeing Germany. I'm not seeing France. I'm not seeing any of these other places, Russia, having school shootings. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. My husband grew up in West Virginia and Texas. His childhood was very different than mine. I like Texas. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, I mean, everybody, especially nowadays where people have traveled so far away from where they were born, you know, they're not in the same place. And you realize when you go to different places that it's not the same place. Things are different. Let's see. We'll answer a couple more, and then I'll call it a show. See you later, Casey. Hopefully, we'll see you tonight in the show. Let's see. I just got a Costco card. It's way easier than getting a gun. The issue is divisive. The issue is divisive, though. And I like you guys. Thank you, AZ. I appreciate that. Too much stupid content, lack of accountability, poor mental health. And I agree, if the parents were made responsible for kids with weapons, they would secure them better. 100%. 100%. You know, it should be negligent. It should be negligent endangering of a child if you do not secure your weapon. And if you leave it in a vehicle, if you don't have a child and you leave it in a vehicle, that should still be some sort of negligent crime, and there should be some punishment for it. I would, like they said, Crossroads said, if there was some stricter crimes against people who just left their weapon unaccounted for, you know, being jacked, right, robbed, things like that, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about somebody leaving it in a car, in their purse somewhere, not on their person though, you know, those type of things. Because a gun should be, I mean, it should be treated better than your phone, right? I don't know how many of you guys leave your phone in your car overnight. Not very many. So if you have the capability and the culpability of taking your phone in and charging it and making sure that it works properly and that nobody else can get to it or nobody can log into it and see what you're doing or whatever the case may be, then you should have the capability and the culpability of doing the same with your weapon, right? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Well, I'm going to end the poll on should guns be legal in the USA, and it was at 58%. Saying they should still be legal, and 27% saying that they are not the problem. The remainder being that is just the issue. Let me see. The sheriff said the kids in Florida acquired the gun they used to kill 3 other kids by burglarizing. Yep, that's exactly true. Exactly true. And that's kind of like where I'm coming from on this situation, where I'm like, there is accountability that can be dealt, and there is a situation that somebody should be dealt. If you leave your gun somewhere, if you leave your weapon, whether it's a gun, a knife, whatever, in a vehicle, and somebody takes it and goes and commits a crime, maybe not the knife thing, but a gun, definitely. If you leave one in the vehicle or unsecured in your home, I don't know. But sorry, Mr. Mojo Resin. I apologize. It says the poll was too vague to vote on. It could have been. It could have been. I get what you're saying. Let's see. But with that being said, guys, I think that's going to be doing it for me. I want to thank all of you guys out there that joined and listened in. Like I said, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind on this thing. I do think that there needs to be some stricter laws against people who aren't securing their weapon. I think that could probably be the first move, but there isn't going to be a one button quick fix, right? Like there is with most things nowadays. This is going to take some time, and this is going to take some legislation. And honestly, I think it's going to take the nation getting together and agreeing. You know, in my opinion, when it comes to like politics, some people put their morals and good judgment to the side for ideology or a political side, to align with an ideology or political side, right? I've known some folks that, were super strict about one thing, but because of their affiliation, one side or another, when it comes to their political beliefs, they seem to throw that out the window and just side with that one direction. It is what it is. I'm not trying to change anybody's political or any of those type of things. Just bringing this to the attention of everybody. And let me know in the comment section if you're watching this back. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this has gone on too much? I know that some folks have said give everybody a gun. Nobody will do anything stupid if everybody has one. I get that. I understand that, but not everybody has access to one. Not everybody has a training, and you really don't want everybody having one. There are some people that really shouldn't. People that have committed violent crimes in the past, people who have are capable of committing violent crimes in the future due to mental health situations, which it's going to be hard to determine who those people are, especially if they're not showing those things. But with that being said, we'll be back tonight. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Ring that notification bell. We'll see you all in a few hours. This is Dan and Jay. Big Blue was here a little earlier. He stepped out. Hyman was in the live chat. Appreciate everybody here. We'll see y'all tonight. Peace.